My name is Margaret Ann Windsor, and these are the shoes that I've had since before the winter of 1911. During that winter, prior to the winter of 1911, I bought them. And this is a backpack that I've had forever, a Marmot. When I was lucky enough to get backpacks, I had to have a place to live and get off the side of the road, hitchhiking from town to town, hoping to find a place to put my body down and be safe, trying to find my sons, Mark and Scott. I don't know if they're alive or dead, but anyway, I can't run anymore. I'm 75 years old. I pay rent, and I do get an income now. I pay rent, and I'm soaked in chemicals, and this has been going on, the soaking of me, since '86 when I came to Roanoke, Virginia. And this is me, Margaret Ann Windsor, brought to Moulton, Alabama, given the name of a twin, Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married a Childers. Both twins, Carl and Peggy, were dead. They were born out of wedlock. They were killed by their mother, Lina, and that was a hellhole, a pigsty. Later, after I ran in a campaign to replace Larry McDonald, a doctor I'd written about, in a medical malpractice book I tried to get published, I ended up with a Hustler, a car furnished by Flint and Hustler magazine, and this is in early '84, I believe this happened. I went to Carlisle, Kentucky, outside Lexington, and which would have been the aunts of the twins, and that's the ID that was given me, mine stolen. So I grew up calling her Aunt Annie Carter, Dempsey Carter. She married Ezra Carter. I went up there, and I was homeless. I'd had antifreeze put in me. I'd tried to do the book, medical malpractice book. I'd been flown out to Flint's. And the car, I still had the car. I never was in contact with him again after then. But this Annie Carter, when she found I had the car, I had the Hustler magazine where I'd run in the campaign. Well, she knew that. So I had some backup on me because they were using the mental health system to try to kill me, is exactly it. And all of this is, if it's ever told, I'm 76 years old. It's been a hell of a life, and nobody's been prosecuted for what they have and are doing to me and my sons. And what they did to my mother and father, as far as I know, they'd have to be deceased now, because I was 40. My mom was 40 when I was born. She's Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor. She's from Madison, Wisconsin, and her sister and my aunt is artist Georgia O'Keefe. My father's Edward VIII. He was forced out. By, in part, his brother, the illegal George VI. And this is Roosevelt. In '39, the year I was born, they're together. And she's supposed to be the Queen Mom, Elizabeth's mother, and wife of the illegal Edward VIII. The Rothschilds that helped kidnap me are kin to her. So Joe Kennedy was ambassador appointed by Roosevelt to England 36 till 46 till they kicked him out. My own uncle, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Bilderberger, Joseph Kennedy, that's JFK's father. So therein you get the Warren Commission's cover-up. It would have led back to my kidnapping. 99, I'm trying to get it where you can see it. My God, enough's been done to slander of a wonderful man. The reason he was taken out was because they couldn't buy him. Okay, that's my father. I don't have my mother's picture. But I had the Hustler magazine car, and this endorsement. So I had enough on me when I went there that Annie Carter, Carlisle, Kentucky, she had taught at the military academy there. And one of the policemen that were good there in Carlisle and Paris, Kentucky, were the decent sheriff and sheriff's deputy and police department, or else they would have tried to kill me again. But they said to me, she's an intelligent woman. She's schooled. She knows what you're talking about. And, of course, she does. I wrote about mind control. That's how Larry Flynn, he was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, while I was doing the medical malpractice book in Marietta. And that was 76 to April Fool Day of 80 when I was filled full of antifreeze. And that was just an ongoing thing that they did to me. I was threatened with a lobotomy. And when I worked for the Madison County, Alabama DA, Fred Simpson, 1980, after I had the antifreeze put in me, brain damage, I should have died, worried about my kids illegally taken across the state line. And by the way, all these crimes have been committed against me, and not one person charged. They've all lived good, but they're talking about Joan Rivers' death. So that tells you, they don't want to tell this because it is an ongoing hell and shows what the Americans are really like. Now, if I've lost you, Annie Carter, who would have been the twins' aunt, she was sister to Lina, she confessed to me that the family always knew about my kidnapping. They knew about my real name. They knew about the deaths of the twins, that they were murdered, and Lina, her sister, the mother of them, the one that I was told to call mother that abused me, the whole family did, she would have faced the gas chamber in Alabama. So in return, this again gets where you get the U.S. government and law enforcement involved. They had to be in cahoots with the Kennedys, Rothschilds, Rockefellers. They dropped me off there in return for them keeping me and telling me that I'm Peggy Dempsey, married to Childers, that later they would get a lot of money. And there was a big photograph of my father holding me at my christening that was brought there. I remember that. I was 2 years old, or maybe a little over, too. So this is what was going on, and I wanted to get to this, and this ongoing, that's still going on with me, that's being done to me, the illegal acts. But I wanted to say this, I married John Guy Childers. He was working in Huntsville, Ness. Had just finished high school in Moulton. That's where I was taken and grew up. And I was working for Curl Wholesale Company on Winston Street in Huntsville. It was Webcore. It was part of what electronics. And I later write the book on mind control, which is programming people, modifying their behavior. It's so advanced now that probably all that is outdated, like you could do it with a handset without your knowledge being programmed. And then if you knew and tried to tell it, why haven't the psychiatrists spoke out about this? They're treating mind control like it's mental illness. One has nothing to do with the other. But I want to say this before this goes off, and it's not going to work. Macon Weaver was sheriff in Huntsville, and he became a prosecuting federal attorney in Birmingham later in 80. Tom Younger was the assistant to him, and in Madison County, he was either a DA or a sheriff. Well, I married John August 18th I'd worked for Curl Wholesale for a year. So August the 18th, I was flown to, John suddenly called me, and he was in Florida with his brother in Orlando. He called me, and he had a ticket waiting and said, well, we're going to marry early, and had me a ticket and go marry in his brother's home. Well, I flew down there and was married, and a week later, this honeymoon turned out to be hell. I'm dropped off in across the border in Tennessee, bought a bus ticket back to this woman in